Hello again from Phnom Penh. This is Tom Nickel with the Cambodia VR Project podcast, which is now up to episode 16. It's Wednesday here in Phnom Penh. I believe it is March 7th. My unseen audience, I'm here to tell you that I am in serious danger of falling behind on the relentless flow of daily podcasts that I've been trying to keep to. Not so much a personal journal, but more, what happened on the informal project that I'm here working on now, which involves an organization, Cambodian Living Arts, an organization whose mission involves arts and artists and culture in general throughout Cambodia and increasingly Southeast Asia and to some extent the world. The informal project that I'm involved with, the kind of mission, the personal little way that I see myself acting is that there are new technologies that can be employed to help Cambodian Living Arts and the whole arts community here extend their reach, touch more people. They do a lot of live performance every single night at the National Museum in Phnom Penh. Traditional, classical, and kind of folk Cambodian dance, really entertaining. Maybe the single best thing for a tourist to do in Phnom Penh, in my opinion, is watch that show. But not everyone's going to come to Phnom Penh. How can the work that they do, the type of performance that they do, and other artists that they've trained and are here in Cambodia, how can it be shared with a wider audience? And that's part of what I hope I'm here to explore. And I think that virtual reality has not only the possibilities that are inherent in the technology for making a media version of live artistic performance in some cases, or simply making art that is native to the medium of VR itself. In addition to these, everything associated with VR in that way, there's also a newness factor. VR is kind of the next big thing, the coming thing. Everybody knows about it. And to be able to do good work now, it's easier to develop an audience because it's not so crowded and noisy yet as it presumably will be a couple of years down the pike when all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So that's, to be in the early artistic expression mode of VR is both an opportunity but also a risk because standards aren't set, equipment keeps changing, it's not really clear what to do. That's always been the type of territory that attracts me. That's kind of what I've been drawn to my whole so-called career. It looks like Cambodian Living Arts wants to go along, for the ride themselves. They see it as essential, actually, that they start to adopt some new media technologies, and I think I'm going to be able to, help them do that. So a lot of exciting things have been happening. This is my third time I've been here in Cambodia for an extended period of time over the last year. Things are starting to get really real now. I'd be hard-pressed to tell you why I missed the podcast yesterday. It wasn't like it was a busy day, but today was. So I was preparing for it to some extent. I went out to lunch with a couple of my Cambodian Living Arts and Khmer Magic Music Bus friends and colleagues, Sema and Dekha, for lunch. And, I did a few other things, but not a lot that I could point to. But by the end of the day, I was just too tired and the podcast didn't get done. But nevertheless, I got up this morning and in some ways, it reminded me of the old days of working in the sense that I had a meeting to attend scheduled and then a kind of a live event that I was going to be hosting and, kind of felt some responsibility toward the people coming, having a good time. But still, it felt different than when I was working. Not that I had to, take it any less seriously or do any less of my best at it, but I can't even quite put my finger on why. But I think it has to do with the fact that I was doing this event out of my ideas and out of my heart and out of what I, think had to be done. And there wasn't any organization that I was working for that I had to mediate it through and run it by or get permit. I don't know, hard to say. Nevertheless, I had spoken with a number of people at Cambodian Living Arts about a phenomenon that I observed, which was that there is a burgeoning little tech community in Phnom Penh, plenty of Cambodians, some expats, and there is also a really nice thriving arts scene, which is what I've been most closely associated with. They don't know about each other. There's just little silos kind of sort of going on, and not absolute, but a lot. The idea just kind of emerged, under the auspices of Cambodian Living Arts, and to some extent, me. But they sent out the invitations to a handful of artists, and I kind of rounded up a few tech people that I knew, and we were hoping maybe we'd get, 5 of each to come for lunch. The Cambodian Living Arts guy, their kind of manager of institutional relationships, a guy named Kai. We'd been planning the event, how we'd do it. We wanted to have kind of a light structure to it, to icebreaker, introductions, getting people to know kind of thing, and then maybe some follow-up talking after a nice lunch. And well, as it turned out, it went pretty much the way we planned, and it just went well. I think we both put the reach out to about 8 to 10 people, thinking that we'd get the 5 of each that we were hoping for, but we actually had about 8 tech people and about 8 artists. But eating was real flexible. We had the event at YK Art House, which is the exceptional place that I stay at here in Phnom Penh. It's not a hotel. It's not hermetically sealed from the rest of the city. It's sort of part of the city, and it has a really nice big courtyard area where you can have events like this, and this is where we had it. People were kind of milling around, talking for a while at first, waiting for the critical mass to show up. And when it did, we went through the kind of introduction exercise where people pair up with someone they don't know, introduce themselves to that other person. And we had a little kind of crib sheet with what they might want to say in those introductions, including projects that they had worked on that they were proud of, or on the other hand, any fears that they might have had about, if they were artists, technology, or if they were technologists, kind of curiosities or wonders about art. And we did that, and people just got right into it. It's a fun exercise. And then when you're through, you introduce to the whole group the partner who you just met. So it means you've got to listen when they're introducing themselves, and also you kind of gain someone that you can just talk to throughout the rest of the day too. And it went just that way. It worked very well. At some point, and pretty much everybody was there. Everyone didn't show up quite at the right time, but it all worked out, and some of the latecomers got integrated in. And after that worked, we just kind of ate lunch, and the nice buffet style Khmer stuff was out there. I guess there's 3 or 4 different dishes and a soup, and it was spirited conversation, definitely, at the lunch. It didn't take really any direction, that the ice had been broken, whatever it was, and people didn't know each other, but found that they had a lot in common and sort of questions, and it looked to me like it was just completely free-flowing, spontaneous conversation. And it was. That's what people told me afterwards. And so, there you go. After lunch, we'd kind of listened, Kai and I, to what people were saying. And he in particular came away with 3 kind of themes that he heard people talking about. I guess one of them you could say was, there's some forms of art where technology is used a lot now, but there's other more maybe classic forms of art like dance and sculpture and painting, or where maybe isn't being used so much now. And do we want to try to figure out ways to get a more media version of certain classic arts not so much associated with it? That was one. Kind of tough to express that succinctly. I'm not even sure if I can remember the other 2 now. One of them, it basically had to do with content distribution. With there's a lot of ways between social media and all these kind of iClouds and web databases and media servers and whatnot. And it was about sort of content distribution strategies. And the third was social impact. How everybody there was very aware of using the work that they do for a positive social impact. It's just across the board. I find that a lot in Cambodia. That's not to say that Cambodia is some awesome place. There's plenty of people in Cambodia that don't go around thinking about positive social impact. Believe me, they think about how they can get rich and screw other people as fast as they can. Just like you can find people like that in the United States and China and Russia and Japan and France and England and everywhere. But there is quite, and it looks to me, maybe it's just I have I've looked in the areas where I've looked, but I see plenty of young people who understand that they got to make a living, but they also want to do something good at the same time. Somehow that kind of social impact dimension of art and the technology products that people were making was talked about. So those went on for a while. After lunch, people kind of gradually drifted away, having to get back to work. Everybody on their way out just came up and said what a good time they'd had, and they wanted to keep doing it and all that kind of stuff. So I could not feel better about how things went in my dream play out of the scenario of today. This was it. So there you go. I mean, it really shows how with a timely idea, it doesn't take much very lightest structure and facilitation to then let it unfold on its own and let everybody have a good time. So there, I mean, wow. Oh, well, I'm speaking out of sequence here. That event did happen today, and I think I got on to talking about it because I had been preparing for it. So I made kind of the opening remarks, and I needed to think. I wasn't going to really drone on about things, but I needed to say why I was there and kind of what had inspired me to keep coming back, and just kind of the story that I just told you on this podcast about, why we decided to have this event. That wasn't the first thing of the day. The first thing of the day was a 9:30 meeting over at Cambodian Living Arts with the video company that they use to basically start the conversation with them about, do you want to start making 360 videos? And they were really interested, and then that in a way the floor was mine to introduce to them. I mean, they knew a little bit about it, but I kind of laid things out to them, the high end and the low end and the options, and how to look at it. And Hermione, the communications manager at Cambodia Living Arts, talked about some of the ways they imagined using it in fundraising and in kind of installations that would be available for people to experience certain aspects of art and culture in Cambodia. That was kind of where she took it. I have lots more ideas beyond that too, but great. Cambodian Living Arts is really ready to start exploring this now, and I felt very good about this video company. They're small, they're smart, they're ambitious and hungry, and I think they're a good choice. And I think the first step is obvious. I think that the Chenla Media is their name. I think that both Cambodian Living Arts, very few people need to get together and just really crystallize succinctly a kind of a simple idea, a project, a 360 video project that could be made that would be a less than 5-minute project, a very simple version of something that, if we hit a home run with it, it could be used in fundraising or a lot of different ways. But the idea is to sort of keep it simple sort of thing, talk about it with Chenla, work it out, make it just a baby step, and then I would fund that so that would kind of take all the pressure off. If people fall on their face, doesn't matter. Tom funded it. It's okay. And that's kind of where we left it. I imagine a $2,000 or $3,000 project, maybe. That would be a nice way to look at it. Would come out of this, and it's going to unfold slowly. It's going to take months before they figure out what that project would be. I'll stay in the conversation. I'll try to really keep it simple. I will emphasize the reason to be taking this step isn't to be sure we make something that's going to be worth millions to us. It's to learn what we need to learn to keep going forward. That's got to be the emphasis now. And as I say, if we get lucky, maybe we got something we can use too. I suspect that will happen, but that's got to be in some ways a secondary consideration. That's how I put it out. They seem to be really got that. And then I went right from that meeting to walk from CLA a couple blocks away to where my place is. That's another reason I chose that place, was because of its proximity to CLA. And bing, bang, boom, the luncheon was starting to emerge. So that was it. I was going from not quite 9 to 5, but a version of it. All those things, that's just what I want to do. I want to have that kind of consultative advisory relationship with CLA. The idea of coming up with the idea of an event, having CLA provide some backbone to it, and having me and someone there lightly host it. That is just my idea of fun. I love doing that. So really good day. I did do one more thing. It might be project related too. We'll see. I noted a couple days ago in an e-newsletter I get from CLA, their kind of arts news weekly with things going on here, that there was someone speaking at another part of town on arts and media, how art critics, art media, the whole ecology around arts is changing just so dramatically, and what that means. Her name is Kathy Rowland, and she is Malaysian. She lives in Singapore, has been running kind of websites and publications, magazines about the arts in Southeast Asia for quite some time. Very well-respected person. So I went to the event. It was really hard to find this place. Sometimes addresses in Phnom Penh, it's going down the street to that address, it's just not there. Well, there's this alley that looks, you wouldn't even want to go down that alley. It doesn't lead to anywhere. Well, it does. You do go down that alley, and then you turn right, and you look over, and there's the place, kind of deeply inside a warren of structure. And but I found it, and it was a really thought-provoking event to see someone with a highly informed view of media, arts and culture, and Southeast Asia, speaking about how the changes in social media and the decline of newspapers and magazines, how the media world is changing so much and what that means to the arts. She had a lot of points to make, and she understood that kind of the old way of art critic at every newspaper pontificating, had its flaws too. But if the replacement model is more like, paid PR flacks for the art festival, turning out press releases, as opposed to any real form of arts criticism in the media, that's a problem. Her belief is that the media discussion is part of the art. Any kind of performance or any kind of exhibition, anything, then the point is to be drawn into a conversation about it, to get engaged in it. And critics or reviewers or podcasters or bloggers that focus on the arts, whatever you want to talk about, they do that. My podcasting flow state there was briefly interrupted by some Facebook Messenger texts, which I do a lot of when I'm here, trying to plan next events and schedule things I'm doing. It's kind of funny. So, I guess I left off with a brief description of the little event I went to, the talk by Kathy Rowland of Arts Equator is the name of her current website publication. So again, it was a stimulating discussion. I'll just take it in as another perspective of the kind of world that I'm trying to operate in, trying to help out in some small way, make a difference in, and always being mindful, hopefully, of my intent, which is that what I'm trying to aid and abet is an organization and a scene and an infrastructure here in Cambodia, in Southeast Asia. That's what it's about. It's not about me and my greater good or even my ego gratification. If it so happens that my intention is focused on the folks I'm trying to work with and things go well and it does make me feel good, so much the better. And, I'll admit it. I feel good a lot here, and so it makes me want to keep doing more, which might end up being a seductive trap. I always have to think about my intentions. Today, I think that my intentions worked out pretty well, and a lot of people appreciated some of the things that went on, and it just, as I said, makes me want to just keep doing it. I'm going to meet tomorrow with someone who I met at the luncheon today who is talking about some kind of a video delivery app platform out of Cambodia. Who knows? So many of the pieces needed might be here already. So on that happy note, I'm going to conclude episode 16 of the Cambodia VR Project podcast. Bye for now.